So, hey, good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Mark Supernaw in Charlotte, North Carolina with Family Healing Chiropractic. Hope you guys are all having a great and blessed day. This is the class that our patients have been asking for, and we did it in the office live last week, and it was awesome. It was amazing. We had a blast with it, and basically, it was patients came to us and asked us questions about some of the medical myths that you guys hear. What alternatives are there? Why do they question this? Why do they ask these things? What do they need? I mean, it was just a really great class. And so I'm going to basically take the things that I brought last week to you guys, and feel free to share this in your links. I don't know how this YouTube, Facebook thing works. Share it so that more people hear it. There's going to be people all over the country. So I want to intro with who I am first. Some of you guys don't know who I am. My name is Dr. Mark Supernaw. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Been here now 21 years in this practice, Family Healing Chiropractic. The reason why I got into chiropractic was back when I was 7 years old, I had really bad asthma and allergies, took a lot of medications, had the inhalers, and then that eventually ended up turning into headaches. Part of the side effects of inhalers and those kind of medications, they cause headaches. I learned this later on down the road. Of course, my mom being a great mom, she's a great mom. Hi, Mom, if you're out there watching. We started giving me Tylenol and aspirin, and sometimes I was just even taking it on my own. If you take too much Tylenol and aspirin, of course, that's going to start to cause stomach ulcers. And so when I was 17 years old, I was put on stomach ulcer medications, and the stomach ulcer medications then in turn caused digestive problems that I carried on into college. So I was 21 years old. I was third year pre-med, University of Iowa. I wanted to become a medical doctor. My academic advisor said to me, she goes, "Oh, it sounds like you don't like your doctors growing up. Maybe there's something else we can do." And so she goes, maybe you should go see my chiropractor. And I was like, that's just kind of crazy, because if you're pre-med, of course, they've taught you that chiropractors are quacks. So if you guys have ever said chiropractors are quacks, or thought chiropractors are quacks, or somebody's told you that, guess what? I've said it probably more than you have in my lifetime. And so I was skeptical. Basically, one thing that impacted me more than anything else is she said to me, she goes, "Listen," most chiropractors, a lot of chiropractors there actually treat symptoms. And so what they do is they'll take you neck pain, back pain, which is not a bad thing, helping people with those things, but they'll adjust you and get rid of your neck pain and back pain. And when that's done, it's done. But there's like 1% to 2% of chiropractors that actually work with the healing power that God put inside the body. Your body was designed to heal itself. And so if it's healing itself, then it's not going to just help the aches and pains, but it's going to help other things, other functions. So we're going to talk about that today. I started going. What was pretty amazing is asthma, allergies, headaches, stomach ulcers completely went away. I stopped taking all medications. Here I am 30 years later, not having taken another medication into my body, which is brilliant and beautiful. And I have stories and stories of that, like that, with patients along the way. So I want to start here. My academic advisor, or not my academic advisor, my diagnosis teacher in chiropractic school, he was a hard man, and it was hard to learn from him, but he taught me one thing. He said, you need to start asking the question of why. And I love that, and I want you guys to keep asking that today when we're talking about this, is like, ask the question of why always. Why is the blood pressure high? Why is the cancer there? Why do the fevers keep coming back? Why do the swollen lymph nodes keep coming back? Why do I have these digestive problems? Why do they recommend medications and drugs instead of more natural things? Why? And so you need to ask this question. We taught this to the patients that were in the office last week. And what's funny is that everybody always came down to, basically it comes down to money. And so this is huge class for you and your family, because you learn how to take responsibility for your own health, the more knowledge that you have along the way. And so we're going to go here. Let's see. Why is it not moving? Okay. So these are my girls, beautiful girls, unbelievable girls. They're 22, 20, 17, and 14. We've made it this far. They've are super, super healthy girls. They're all born at home, no drugs, no medications early on in their life. In fact, so much that we try to really teach them how to eat healthy foods from the beginning. We used to say, is this a God food or is this a man food? And funny story, the oldest there, her senior year, after some kind of drama or something like that, they were at McDonald's and everybody was videotaping her because she'd never eaten a McDonald's French fry before. And so really try to raise our kids, no drugs, no medications, no vaccines. They never had a vaccine in their body their whole life. They've never even been to a medical doctor in their whole life. And so I say that to say this. What I'm going to teach you today is all about the principles that allow you and your family to stay healthy and be healthy and stay healthy. The current state of our healthcare, I don't have to cover this very much. It's out there. I think 5 years ago, people still thought we were healthy, but I think during the COVID times, people started realizing, okay, we're not healthy at all. In fact, if you look at the numbers out of the 37 richest countries in the world, we rank 37, even though we spend the most money, take the most drugs. So we have a big problem here where if it was the medical model actually worked, if drugs and medicine actually work, we should have been the healthiest country on the planet. We ranked last. We have more heart disease, more cancer, more depression, more anxiety, more prescription drug-related deaths than ever before. And so we have these things happening in front of us. And of course, more metabolic disorders than ever before. Things like high cholesterol, high heart disease, obesity, diabetes, cancers, thyroid problems, PCOS, Cushing's, fatty liver, arthritis. These things are metabolic disorders, meaning that these are lifestyle disorders. These are not things that are genetic. I know they'll like to try to tell you that it's genetic, but it's not a genetic thing. These things are actually taken on by our environment, the things that we do to ourselves, the things that we don't do to ourselves, the healthy things that we don't do. And it's not just the adults, it's happening in our kids these days too. And so within the kids these days, the fascinating thing is that there used to be 50% of all children had at least one chronic disease by the age of 5. Now it's just turned, the CDC has just come out with this, it's 66% of all children, think about this, have at least one chronic disease by the age of 5. So clearly we're doing something very, very wrong. And so we need to change this. There's asthma, there's diabetes, younger and younger than ever before, obesity, ADHD, depression, malnutrition. This stuff's happening. And this is not a third world country. This is the country that's supposed to have it together. This is the country that's supposed to have all the stuff in the right places, but we don't, clearly, obviously, along the way. So we've got to find out and do something different. I'm trying to help people understand that we do not have a healthcare system. I've had so many battles of educating patients this week about people come in and they want to use this insurance card. And the sad thing about it is that the insurance model, the big pharmacy model, and the medical model, they are all built into this medical industrial complex where it is, any guesses why it's so successful from a money standpoint is because it is all based on symptoms. This whole model is based on symptom care. It's not healthcare. It's called sick care. And I know you got the insurance from your company. I know that this is the way that it's always been done. This is how my parents did it. This is what the experts say. The problem with that is how is it working for you? How is it working for our country? It's not working at all. So there's a lot of problems that come with this medical and industrial complex. And so we have to do something completely different. I had a lady in yesterday. I don't know if my heart's ever broken more. Maybe it's just a part of where I'm at right now, me personally as well. But my heart was breaking. I was bawling in the middle of this new patient intake. This lady in a wheelchair that she could only say, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all she could say. And she was only 41 years old. Her 4 kids are the exact same age as my 4 kids. And here's this lady who's drooling on herself and her mom's answering questions for her and is her caretaker for the rest of this lady's life. And she was perfectly normal 5 years ago. So we start doing the history on this thing. Anybody want to put in the chat down here what they think the problem, what happened in the last 5 years? Do you think that put this lady into this pathway? There was probably some previous things already there, but any guesses what are some of the things that probably happened along the way? Well, yes, she's fully dosed up on every single COVID vaccine that she was supposed to have. Her kidney was failing. The doctors had a mistake with the kidney failure. They did something wrong with her and they didn't get to it in time. And so she had kidney failure. And then 2 years ago, she had a stroke. And so I said to the mom, I said, listen, I don't know if it's the COVID vaccine. I don't know if it's the medical procedures. I don't know. But nobody, think about this, nobody along the way actually said, why is this woman unhealthy and what can we do to support her body and the health? And this is why if you're out there with aches and pains and think, listen, I know some of you guys, you just think it's a little bit of neck pain, a little bit of back pain. Some of you guys, you think that it's just a little bit of a digestive problem or it's just a little inconvenience with the headaches every now and again. Listen, no symptom goes unturned. No symptom is a waste. The symptom is your body trying to tell your body, it's trying to tell you, where there is weakness. There is weakness in your body. The symptoms are not your problem. The symptom is the signal to tell you that there's weakness inside your body. And so what happens is that it's like the oil light on your car. The oil light is not the problem. If you put a piece of black tape over the oil light, that does nothing and you keep driving the oil light is going to absolutely bust out. It's going to burn out. It's going to blow up. It's going to break down. Why? Because you're not addressing what the real cause is. And so this is why you have to get to the root cause. So when patients come to my office like this lady, and anybody that comes to my office, neck pain, back pain, I get little kids. I had 2 little kids in this week that had major neurological issues with their eyes already. And again, this is stuff that I didn't see in the first 5-10 years of practice. And so when people come in, I love sitting down with them. And this is when they come in for my radio show or when I get a chance to sit down with them for the first time. The thing that they appreciate is I say, listen, every single person that walks through my front door has 3 options. And the first option is this. You can go home and do nothing about these symptoms. And if you go home and do nothing about these symptoms, whatever is causing this is only going to keep getting what? It's going to keep getting worse. Second option is you could take a drug or medication. You could find the perfect pill. You could even find some kind of natural supplement that is going to cut your symptoms down. But the reality is that whatever is causing it is still there. And it's going to keep breaking your body down every single day that you leave it there. The third option is that you can actually get to the root cause of the problem. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the root cause here in a little bit and what we look for at our office, because I think it's super important for you guys to understand no matter where you live. If you're in Charlotte, great. We'll be able to help you out. If you're not, I'll help plug you in somewhere. You can see on the ticker below. You can email me with questions or text us as well. That's not beer, just so you guys know. That's water. Trust the experts versus follow the facts. And before you guys put it in the chat, I know that this is plastic, so I know that's not good for me. So trust the experts versus follow the facts. The fun thing about this is that I think 5 years ago, we all were in this pathway, or a lot of people, especially if you're analytic, are like, oh, no, we need to trust these experts. And what's happening now is more and more people are starting to realize, holy crap, when I listened to the experts before, I ended up like this lady in the wheelchair. And so is it the experts, and do they really know, or follow the facts? I'm not either, actually. I don't trust the experts and I don't follow the facts. I don't trust any news media anymore. I very rarely trust any kind of research. There is research out there, but you can make it how you want it if there's enough money. The one thing I love doing is I love trusting what's called principles. And that's what we're going to talk about, is what are the principles. And that's what healing is about. Where are the principles of what healing and how God designed your body and what your body's, how your body's designed to be able to heal itself. I love this quote. This is the first chiropractor, D.D. Palmer. Whole nother story, whole nother day. But what's fascinating about this quote, I love this. He says, I desired to know why one person was ailing and his associate eating at the same table, working in the same shop, at the same bench was not. Why? What difference was there in these two people, these two persons, that caused one to have various diseases while his partner escaped it? And that what's fascinating is I think most of us say, oh, well, it's just good genetics, or there's some other reason for this. Well, there is a reason for this. And you guys see it in families that there might be 3, 4, 5, 6 family members. One gets sick all the time and then the other ones don't get sick, but they're all exposed to the same germs and viruses. They eat the same food. They go to the same church. They sleep in the same house. They do the same stuff. The thing is that no. It comes down to, how is your body able to adapt from the inside? That's why I love this quote here. Patients come in my office all the time saying, man, I have these migraine headaches, and I know it's from looking at the computer all day long. And looking at the computer all day long is causing my migraine headaches. And I'm like, how many other people at your work look at the same computer all day long? How many do that? And they're like, everybody. And I'm like, okay. So if that's everybody, then what does that mean? That means that your body, there's something wrong with your body looking at that computer when that person next to you looks at the computer all day long and doesn't have migraine headaches. So you start to understand these things. Same thing. People, oh man, it's because I walk around on this hard floor all day long at the warehouse. And I'm like, how many people do that? Do they all have back pain? No, they don't. Well, 2 people are smokers. One get cancer, one doesn't. whole family drinks from the same water, but one gets cancer, one doesn't. Why is this? It's that inner being of the body that creates the healing from within. I love this. Truth over fear. The truth is your body has this innate inborn intelligence. My favorite way to describe this innate intelligence is that all living things want to survive. The way that God created living things, think about that weed in your driveway. You pull it out, it keeps coming back. Why? It wants to survive. You think about that plant, you turn it away from the light. What does it do? It wants to turn its leaves back towards the light. Why? Because it wants to survive. If you cut your arm, what happens? It heals. It wants to survive. Your body has this inborn innate intelligence that's constantly trying to adapt it to an environment, whether it's too hot, whether it's too cold, whether it's too windy, whether you're in a toxic environment where you have high stress. The body has this inborn intelligence trying to adapt to itself. The truth is your body has that power to protect from illness. It was designed to protect itself. Your body has a powerful defense system. It's there. You're not lacking. Your body was designed to do these things, but you have to make sure that it's able to adapt at its highest level. So let's jump right into some of the myths here. I'm going to go through a few myths. I'm going to go through the nerve system. Then we're going to go through some more myths. I put vaccines and I put vaccines and ivermectin stuff at the end. That way, if they shut down our link, we at least get a majority of the stuff before we do that. This is pretty fascinating. The first question that one of my patients put in the jar at our office was, what about raw milk? Why is it so controversial? It's like, why is that? And I listened to so many podcasts on this thing because I was just kind of interested in the subject, but you can pretty much go through the whole food industry like this. So the myth is that raw milk is dangerous and it should be banned, and pasteurization makes milk safe. So these are the statements from the Dairy Association, right? Well, anybody have guesses why that this is such a strong statement, why these myths are out there and why they're perpetuated? Because it makes money. Again, asking the why question. The truth is raw milk's actually healthy. If you take raw milk, it's actually healthy. It's got enzymes, but once you pasteurize it, it destroys all the good bacteria. It destroys, it does destroy bad bacteria too, but it destroys the good bacteria, and the enzymes and all the nutrients that milk had are completely gone now that you've done that. And so raw milk in itself is not bad. But now see, at the same time, our family, we don't really drink raw milk on a regular basis or do that because why? Because we really don't believe that, hey, look, our body should be putting raw milk. And like, if you don't do raw milk, go do it. It's got good nutrients, everything like that. But the reality is mammals on the planet that drink milk from another mammal. So there is that reality, is that maybe that milk is not really necessarily made for us. And if you start to understand what breast milk or cow's milk really is for, I love this next slide. There is a difference between healthy baby breast milk and sick baby breast milk. And this just kind of feeds into the fact of how intelligent the human body is. And so I don't know if you know this. So these three slides here, one of this is normal. One of these is COVID breast milk, positive, and one of these is a sick mom breast milk. And so when you look at this, you're like, holy cow, what's the difference in the colors? Well, your body, think about this. As the baby's nursing, as the baby's latched onto mom, the baby's saliva and the things that are happening inside that baby and what it needs from the mom, what nutrients it needs, what enzymes, what things it needs to be able to survive. And if it's sick, it needs more of its immune system. That saliva goes into the mom's breast, and actually the mom's breast intelligently understands what's right or what's wrong and is able to actually, guess what? Start to change the way that the milk is coming out of her breast. Not immediately, maybe within a day or whatever it is, but that's pretty amazing. The baby's spit backwash contacts the mammary glands receptors. It interprets it for bacteria and viruses, and then those glands detect something, and then the mom's milk will change. Fascinating, right? Pretty amazing. You guys didn't know you're going to learn about breast milk tonight, but I thought this is such a fascinating thing to explain. What we're trying to talk about is that the body is an amazing, healthy, healing thing. How about sweeteners? Okay, they're good. Artificial sweeteners are safe. They're better than sugar. There was a time there where they said sugars are like all bad for you. You need to get rid of the sugar. Sugars are causing all kinds of problems, diabetes and all kinds of stuff. Well, really what happens is sweeteners are built in a laboratory where if you get pure cane sugar or sugar from as raw as you possibly can, that's a little bit more how God designed it. But when you're getting artificial sweeteners that are made into made in a factory, A lot of these disrupt the gut flora, the digestive system, and so also affect the metabolic health. So if you're going to use sweeteners, you want to use things that are more natural, safer metabolically, things like stevia, things like monk fruit. These are things that are actually way better for you than using something or like honey or agape or I forget what the name of that is. Not agape. It's been on my mind this week. So heart health. Let's keep rolling. I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure we get all these through these slides and we don't take forever tonight. High blood pressure and cholesterol always require lifelong medication. That's what they want. Once you start taking the medication, you got to take it for how long? Rest of your life. Cholesterol is inherently bad. That's what they say. Actually, cholesterol is essential. You need cholesterol in your body. In fact, every hormone in your body, its precursor, you need cholesterol. So let's take on cholesterol first. Cholesterol, if it goes high in your body, you got to ask the question of what? Why? Why did it go high? Well, typically, if cholesterol is going high, your body's trying to make either more hormones, things like testosterone, estrogen, or you have problems within the arterial system that need repair. Cholesterol is used as repair as well. And so if it's high and the body's trying to create, number one, more hormones, or number two, repair tissues because of that, if it's high, then what happens is if you take a cholesterol-lowering medication like a statin and lower it, now what happens? Now you've just handcuffed the body and it can't do what it was designed to do. It can't do the things that it was designed to do from the beginning. You're handcuffing the body. It can't do what it's supposed to do. Same thing with high blood pressure. I remember after I had my ruptured Achilles. I'm not telling you guys to never go to a doctor. There's a time and a place for it, obviously. And so you go to a doctor I had my Achilles sewn together. 2 weeks later, we're at the doctor's office and he's taking my blood pressure and he looks at me and looks at Joel and he's like, hey, by the way, I want to let you know your blood pressure's high. And I'm like, you know why it's high? And they look at me and they're like, no, why? And I said, you guys cut on me last week. I go, my body is trying to push, again, ask the question why. My blood pressure is high because it's trying to push blood, because what's in the blood? In the blood is all the nutrients to repair tissue, okay? Oxygen, and as the blood flows through the area, it will also pull away damaged tissue on the way out. And so it's perfect design, but if you lower the blood pressure, now it slows down the healing. I've talked about this with physical therapists about sprained ankles. Okay, if it's swollen, I get it. You want to reduce the swelling because there's going to be pain with that swelling. And you're going to make the patient, the athlete happier if you reduce the swelling. But the problem is, what have you now done? You've also increased the healing time, making it longer because you've decreased the amount of blood flowing to the area, which has all the rich nutrients. See, you guys start to understand when you start to think about this thing and you start to understand these things. It's completely start to ask the question of why is this happening? Remember, the body knows what it's doing, when it's doing, if you're putting it and feeding it the right proper things along the way to make sure that it's able to go through the healing process like it's supposed to. Okay. How about cancer? Cancer is always a genetic fluke, is what they say, myths. A body can't fight cancer without aggressive treatment, like cut, poison, burn, right? So the truth is everyone makes cancer. Like right now, every single one of you, sorry to say, all you guys have cancer cells in your body right now. And stress, toxicity, and subluxation, which is misalignment of the spine, which I'm going to talk about next, weaken the immune surveillance of the body. It decreases the adaptability, and then the body is going to actually start to break down. So here's how I described cancer at the class last week. Cancer is a natural survival mechanism. It's an adaptation to a stress that's inside the body that the body can't handle. So it's got to do something about it. So think about this. If I go out and I take a shovel and I go out in this yard right here and I start shoveling the yard or raking the yard, what's going to happen to my pads right here? I'm going to start to develop calluses. And the calluses I'm developing along the way, I don't want them, especially if you're a woman. You don't want calluses. You want to have the soft hands. You want to have all the stuff, right? But do you ever realize that if I didn't create the calluses, my body didn't create the calluses that are adapting to stress, what's going to happen to the skin right here? It's going to wear all the way down. It's going to go through the skin. It's going to go through the blood, and it's going to go through the muscles, and it's going to go straight to the bone. So that callus is an adaptive response, just like cancer is inside your body. Cancer is a natural defense to the body. Now, is it always and necessarily always bad? No, because what happens is as cancer cells develop, if in the form of a tumor, the body has basically contain this thing. And if you go in there and disrupt the borders of that, now you're disrupting and allowing that cancer to flow into other parts of the body. The body was trying to protect itself. Now those tumors can and will actually push into things that will occlude stuff. If it's into the cerebral spinal fluid, if it's occluding a nerve, if it's occluding possibly or artery flow, blood flow, this can be a problem, but it's not the tumor that's the problem. It's not the cancer the problem. Again, you got to ask the question of why is this cancer showing up? And so all the cancer patients come into my office, I'm like, listen, let's get your body functioning at the highest level. But let's also start to ask the question, why did this develop? Where did the stress come from in the first place? Was the stress coming from toxicities? Is it coming from emotional stress? Where is the stress coming from along the way? One more before we go into one of my favorite slides here. Fevers and ear infections. So little kids, parents, we get a lot of kids that come into the office, a lot of kids with chronic ear infections. And this little girl, 6 years old, chronic ear infections, antibiotics. You guys know what antibiotics do to the body. It actually destroys the immune system, and then you need more antibiotics. Not only does it destroy the immune system, but it destroys the gut because antibiotics kill bacteria, not that just the bad bacteria. It also kills the good bacteria too. And the good bacteria is part of the immune system and also has a gut-brain connection that will affect things like depression and anxiety. These things are connected between the two. And so you start to have ear infections. This little girl went to doctor after doctor after doctor. They kept giving her antibiotics, and she's getting sicker and sicker. And she missed every day of first grade, comes to the office. We take one x-ray of her spine. We take several x-rays of her spine, but one in particular showed us that there's major stress to her nerve system and her neck. And with palpation and with the other things that we used with her, we found out that she has a misalignment in her spine. And that misalignment in her spine was actually decreasing the function of her brain communicating to her body. Her body wasn't able to communicate and wasn't able to heal on its own. And so guess what we did? We started adjusting and we started helping her rebuild her gut. We started telling her parents, got to rebuild her gut. Within about 2 weeks, she was completely off all of her medications, no more antibiotics, no more problems. So these are huge. Now I want to talk about something just to the side of this because it's about the same thing. Is that if somebody has fevers, if a baby especially, but also adults, if you have a fever, it is a natural response of your body trying to protect itself. Again, think about everything I'm talking about right now. You're like sitting here thinking, okay, well, why would they tell us this? You're telling us the complete opposite. Why would they tell you that ear infections only need antibiotics? Why would they tell you that fevers need Tylenol? Why would they tell you this stuff? Again, ask the question why, and your answer is going to be what? It's going to be money. Like if you're going to have a sick model system, the medical industrial complex is a sick model system. In that sick model system, basically what has to happen is you have to be told that you have a problem or a diagnosis, and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe they're telling you it's genetic. Maybe they're telling you something else, but it doesn't. If they tell you it's a genetic problem, the issue that comes with that is now you don't think that you can do anything about it. Like if somebody's diabetic and has heart disease and they're like, hey, you're kind of screwed here, but the reason why is because it's genetic. Well, then why wouldn't you stop at Taco Bell on the way home? Because you can't do anything about it because it's genetic. And that's not true at all. You have to start to ask the question of why is my body going through what it's going through? Why does it have the fever? Well, here's how it works. Those of you that had science class, in science class, you guys remember we use those things called the Bunsen burners, where you turn on the Bunsen burner to heat up a chemical. And what that did is it helped speed up the chemical reactions. Well, when God designed our bodies, he put the heat or the fevers in there to allow us to start to help process the immune system and the white blood cells and everything else you need, Th1 response, Th2, the body's responding constantly. And the hotter it is, the more heat it has, the more that it's developing, and it's developing at a faster pace. So typically when somebody has a 101, 102 fever, we're like, hey, this is a viral infection. And so 103, 104, 105 is more of a bacterial infection. So if they're giving your kid, some kind of antibiotic and their fever is like 100 or 101, well, it's an absolutely ridiculous thing. It's destroying their gut. It's destroying their immune system, and it's doing absolutely nothing for what's causing the fever in the first place. So what you need to do is lean into the fever, pray on them, hug them, love them, take care of them. That's how it works. When you do those things, that's what allows the body to be able to build. Now, here's what also happens. Remember, God designed it perfectly. When you have fevers, what's going to happen is you have a fever and your body goes through this healing process. It develops immune system. And then the next fever, same thing. what they found, research shows that the more febrile infections, febrile meaning fever, infections that kids have at a young age, some parents get in and come in and start freaking out about how many fevers their kids have. I'm like, hey, you're lucky. The stats actually show, in the research, the experts show, right, that if you have more febrile infections as a kid, there's less likelihood of you having cancer when you're older, because you're building the immune system. Like, you can lift, if you don't lift weights, if I go to the gym and I'm supposed to lift weights like this, but somebody else is doing the weights for me, I'm never going to build this muscle, because somebody else, it looks like the same motion, but it's not the same thing. Taking antibiotics and lowering fevers is not the same thing as allowing your body to go through its natural immune system function. I love this chart here. Some of you guys have heard me say this before. So over here on the left-hand side, you have 0%. On the right-hand side, you have 100%. Okay, so if your body's function, I asked this question. If your body's function at 0% function, I love asking patients, your body's function at 0% function, what's wrong with your body? And the answer is that you're dead. Okay, there's no other answer than that. It's zero. It's 100. It's zero. Your body's dead. If your body's functioning at 100%, though, on the right-hand side, what's right with your body? And that answer is everything. So not only do you feel good, not only do you have great energy, not only are you getting great sleep, but you're a better husband or a better wife, you're a better brother, you're a better sister, you're a better mom or dad, you're a better sister, you're better at work, your hormones are more imbalanced, your sex life better, everything's better when your body's functioning at 100%. So the reality, though, is that as your body goes from 100% function and you start to lose function there, what happens is that symptoms don't show up until you hit about right there in the middle. 60% function is finally when the symptom shows up. So majority of people that come to my office, they come in at symptom-based because they're so ingrained in the medical model, the medical industrial complex. But I have about half of my patients that come in with no symptoms, and they just want to make sure that they're functioning at the highest level that they possibly can. And this is hard to understand because it's so different than what we've ever been taught before. And so what we're trying to do is make sure your body's functioning at 100%. So a couple years ago, I had these two ladies come through my office doors. One was 37 years old. If you looked at her from the outside, you're like, this woman is completely beautiful. She's healthy. She looks like she works out all the time. And you look at her chart, and she has 2 forms of cancer. And her oncologist said that she told me she was a smoker in college for 1 year. Her oncologist said she was a smoker. That's why she had cancer. And most people would look at that and say, there's no way you get cancer from smoking for 1 year. Well, here's what happened, is that it wasn't about her smoking for 1 year. It was when she smoked, her body was already at a disadvantage. Her body was not functioning at 100%. Her body already had disadvantages there. And when she smoked, her lungs weren't able to reject, get rid of those cancer cells because her body wasn't able to do it. She already had lung problems from the beginning. So what ends up happening is another girl comes to the front door. She's 19 years old. Her great-granddad is that 95-year-old guy, smokes and drank for his whole life, can't do anything. He smokes, drinks, does everything wrong you possibly can imagine, right? Doesn't seem like he should be healthy. The guy's still living, 95 years old. They do a scan of his lungs. They don't find cancers in his lungs. The reason why don't they find cancer? Because in his body, as he took the cigarette smoke in, his body was constantly adapting or healing along the way. And so what creates or what allows that healing, that function that comes with inside the body? You saw the same thing during COVID. Like, people that got COVID that had problems were not healthy people. The people during COVID were not the people that were at 100% there on the right-hand side. Okay. The ones that got COVID and had problems were the ones that were already functioning there at that 60%, 50%. You remember what they were called? They were called people with comorbidities or pre-existing conditions. See, if you have comorbidities and pre-existing conditions, listen, I'm sorry to say it, but that means that you have sickness and disease in your body. Your body is already functioning at a poor level. It's not able to adapt to its environment. And so the reality is that you've got to do something different, get that body pushing and functioning back up to that 100%. And so then you start to look at and you ask the question, okay, what is it that controls the function inside your body? And there's only one organ in your body that really is the king over everything, that it controls all functions. How you can see, how you breathe, how you hear, how your immune system works, how your hormones balance, how your body's able to adapt, how your body's able to heal if it gets a cut on the arm. The brain is the control system of everything, controls everything. The central nervous system controls everything. How do we know this is true? Guy was laughing during the class when I said this, but it's true. They did a research project in medieval times in France. They used this thing called the guillotine. And the guillotine, they would take and they would chop your head off. And when they chopped your head off, they found out that you died 100% of the time. So the research was pretty conclusive, right? So you died. Why? Because this is where life is. This is where, when God designed you, I love to do a whole nother class on this. When God designed you, this is where that was. The brain sends messages down through the nerve system and then comes out the nerves to all the organs, cells, and tissues to allow your brain to communicate and tell your body how to work. And what kind of how fast the heart needs to be, what the blood pressure is supposed to be, how much cholesterol is going to be, what the blood sugar is going to be. But in turn, the body has to turn around and send messages back up to the brain to tell the brain what's right or what's wrong. It's kind of like the thermostat on the wall. If the thermostat is telling your air conditioner that it's 75 degrees in here, the air conditioner better turn on. It's the same thing with the body. You have this feedback loop system, and that comes through the nerve system. Well, there's this thing that disrupts that function, or that function that comes from your brain to your body. It's what's called a subluxation, or a subluxation process. Now, subluxation can and will lead to degeneration of the spine and will cause other problems over time. Now, there's a lot of different ways to find subluxation. Again, I know on here, my patients at the patient level, this is going to be a very elementary description of what subluxation is. I'm going to get ripped up and down the profession. So I love you guys that are out there that get a chance to watch this. They're my profession. Rip away if you guys want to. I'll just hide your comments. But I'm going to give you kind of rudimentary, kind of elementary description of what subluxation is. What a subluxation is essentially when the spine moves out of its normal alignment. And when that spine moves out of its normal alignment, I used to have a spine up here. That's what I was looking for. When the spine moves out of a normal alignment, then what it does, it causes choking or pressure on the nerves. And that disrupts, essentially, chemically and structurally and functionally. It's not like this is for my profession. Like, it's not like it's being choked off like this. It's not like a garden hose being kinked. Those are very rude, crude, I should say, examples of that. But essentially, that's what it is. Your brain's trying to send these mental impulses down through the spinal cord out to the organ, cells, and tissues to tell it what to do and how to adapt. And what's happening is it's being disrupted. It's kind of like when the sun's out, but there's a tree in the way. The sun's still out, but you just can't see the sun because the tree's blocking the rays. Same thing's happening inside the body. When the spine goes out of alignment and causes these things, now it disrupts the function of whatever that nerve's supposed to go to. And what creates the subluxation, without getting too deep in this, it's the lack of adaptation of your body to traumas, thoughts, and toxins. Traumas are physical things: slips and falls, car accidents, being born, giving birth, your posture, sitting, all this kind of stuff. Emotional stress, spiritual stress is also a big piece of that. And then you also have chemical stress, toxins, which are everywhere in our environment. So what happens is our bodies can't adapt. They get overwhelmed and they can only handle so much. And so a lot of different ways that we look for subluxation office, we check posture, balance, range of motion, surface EMG, and we also like to do palpation where we can feel the muscles in there. And then on top of that, we also take x-rays. Now, not all chiropractors take x-rays. Some do, some don't. I like them because it's a good teaching tool. And so when I see a normal spine, cervical spine, so this, I don't know which way I'm supposed to turn on this. So you can see this turning to the left here on the left-hand side. That is actually the jaw right there. And on the right-hand side is the back of the head. And this curve is supposed to be 40 to 45 degrees. It's supposed to be curved like a banana. And you see that red line. It looks like it's curved like a banana. And you also don't want this forward head posture where your head's out in front of your shoulders like this. You want your head up over top of the shoulders is essentially what you're looking for. And so that actually looks, and you can see there's spacing in between the bones in there. And that spacing in there is in pretty good shape. There's probably some areas in there, but that's telling me that that's a functioning spine, at least from an x-ray standpoint. Now we got to do the other things to find out if there's subluxation there, but that's a big thing. But what happens is the next one, these are pictures of basically 3 13-year-olds that you can see they're all looking down. It's not curved the right way. It's curved the opposite way. Watch again. This person's curved like a banana. These are not curved like bananas. If anything, it's the opposite direction of a banana, and it's going the opposite direction. So these kids range from things like depression, ADD, ADHD, focus issues, sleep issues, digestive problems. This is what happens to kids, especially at 13 years old, that have this. This is what's called, and this is developing more and more. It's text neck or tech neck. But the reality is that this is not just happening to kids. This is happening to everybody. Come on, let's be honest. We're all on these things, these devices, these computers, and all this kind of stuff. So we have these things. And when this happens, and see, this is why I tell people, I'm like, listen, you come to my office, you have neck pain, back pain, digestive problems, depression, anxiety, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. You got 3 options. Number 1, you can do nothing about it. Number 2, you can medicate it. Or number 3, we can find out the cause. If you have a structure in the spine that looks like this, and you're trying to put natural foods in your body to try to heal this, or trying to put supplements, or trying to take more vitamin D, I'm sorry that those things are better for you than medications, but they're not. Vitamin D is better for you than medication. But if you got function and structure like this, I said a bad word there, I think. If you get structure and function there in a bad way, what happens is you're not allowing the body to do what it needs to do. I'm not telling you guys that when we adjust somebody cancer, heart disease, diabetes, we don't heal those things directly. What happens is we help the body function better. Your body functioning better will always fight for itself, and it will adapt better than somebody's body that does not fight the way that it's supposed to. Now, this is a fascinating one. That orange arrow right there, or yellow, whatever it is, colorblind here a little bit. So that's a horn. And during COVID, there was an article that came out in New York Times, and it said people are starting to grow horns on the back of their head. And so if you reach back on the back of your head, you can feel about right in the middle. You feel this little bump right there. That bump right there is attached. What's attached to that is muscles and tendons and ligaments that allow your head to be bent backwards like this. So if you know anything about muscles, tendons, and ligaments in the body, that if I keep putting more tension on the bone, because the muscles, tendons, and the ligaments are stretching, it's going to have bone growth. Calcium is going to lay down. And so what's happening is because so many people have their heads in that tech neck position, it's causing so much stress that bone is starting to grow on people. More and more people are having this, which tells me that we're putting more and more stress on our spine and our nervous system on a regular basis. So if you're out there, if you're here local, I just kind of give you some solutions. If you're not local, email me. I'll help you find a doctor in your area that should check this. I love it. There's a lot of great doctors and chiropractors out there on the internet right now that are talking about chiropractic a little bit more. Jack Wolfson's a heart specialist, and what he talks about is he's like, listen, I don't even see patients that have heart problems unless they're getting adjusted by the chiropractor. Because you think about it, he's like, why would I do testing on somebody if their nerve system, their brain and spinal cord is not communicating to the heart, and the heart's not able to send messages back to the brain? What if this is handicapped? If this is not working, then I don't have, because if I take all the nerves and cut the nerves, all the nerves to your heart, that heart's going to die. But if I pinch the nerve or if I stress the nerve, now that heart's going to die slowly. So we've got to keep that pressure off there so your body can heal the best we can. So a few weeks here, I guess a few weeks away, dinner with the doc. It's Monday, September 15th. So if you're in this area, you can actually text to RSVP. You can just text the numbers down at the bottom on the ticker, 704-540-0055. So if you're out there and you're like, hey man, I've been having this problem, and I've seen more and more people with just weird stuff that doctors aren't even like, the people that come in and say, man, doctors have done all the scans, all the tests, everything on me, and they can't find anything. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a good thing. And they're like, yeah, but I still wonder what's wrong though. And then they come in and we're like, oh my gosh, your nerve system is a disaster. Why has nobody seen this? So we see this on a very regular basis. So if you're out there with those symptoms, and every day that you have those symptoms, don't worry. The symptoms are bad enough. If you have migraine headaches, it's hard to concentrate. It's hard to have fun with your kids and play with the family and all this kind of stuff. It's hard to even concentrate at work. That's a big deal. But what you need to be more worried about, what happens if you don't find out what's causing that? That's the key of what we get a chance to do. And I'm going to talk about the cause of the body's breakdowns and how we can help you fix these things at the dinner. It's on September 15th at 6:00 in our office. So just text us for details. We'll get you more information along the way and help you guys out. Okay, let's keep going. Antibiotics, gut damage. So antibiotics, I kind of hit on this already, kind of killed this slide already. They only kill bacteria. The myth is that it kills bad bacteria. It kills all bacteria, good and bad. That's a problem. And see, the thing is that the bacteria that you carried from your mom, if you had a natural childbirth process, that is passing on generations. God was smart. Viruses, bacteria, parasites, all these things, these are there to work in union with our bodies. Okay. And when we have the good ones, it's really great. But if we start getting more of the bad, then we have more issues along the way. So what the antibiotics do is they destroy the gut. which you destroy the gut. Now you're going to start to affect the brain because there's a gut brain connection there. And that means that it's going to affect maybe even depression, anxiety. It might even affect focus or sleep. These are the things that come together with all these things. Okay. Vaccines, my favorite topic. This is where they pull the plug on me. All vaccines are 100% safe and effective for everybody. More vaccines automatically mean better immunity. Immunity from vaccines is identical to natural immunity. All myths. In fact, 20 some years ago, Fauci said the best immune system you can have is get the disease, heal from the disease, and now you have natural immunity. Vaccines don't give that. He said that until he started making money on vaccines. Okay. When he started making money on the vaccines, he started saying, no, you need to have the vaccines. And so vaccines have side effects and risks. They have so many chemicals in it. Our schedule for vaccines just keep going up and up and up. If you want books on this stuff, one of my friends recommends a couple. One of them was Turtles All the Way Down. It doesn't have an author on it because they know that if they put their name on it, that they would get banned from all research projects and everything else like that. So it's called Turtles All the Way Down if you want some of the stats and stuff on this stuff. Also Shot in the Dark. And I believe that one's Neil Miller. I think it's on this bookshelf behind me. That was a good first one that I read years ago. And so basically what happens is that vaccines have side effects, and the immune response you get from vaccines, it is not the same as natural immunity. And that's why they want you to get boosters along the way. And there are massive risks. You can see with RFK coming into the office that more of the information is starting to come out. They're starting to pull the COVID vaccine, thank God, but it never should have been given in the first place. And the COVID vaccine is a whole nother animal on top of what the kid vaccine schedule is ridiculous. From what it was when I was a kid, I'm gonna sound like an old person here. It was like 6 or 7. And now it's like 70 some that they're trying to give to kids. Well, why would they give so many more vaccines? Any guesses? Say the word. It's a money train, right? This is the money thing. And so what happens is, and I said this at the class and I clipped it and it made a lot of sense. I love this saying. I don't know where it came from. I heard it from somebody. I'm sure nothing I have is probably unique. And I said this, I said, listen, aren't vaccines a good idea? Like if I could give you a little bit of a chemical that would make you immune to a disease and you would never get it, don't you think that's a good idea? And everybody should say, of course. But if you look at the all cause problems with it and what other things happen with it and the deaths that come with these things, it is not a good idea at all. In fact, vaccines, the actual efficacy of vaccines are actually in very, very much question. You need to start to question these things along the way and ask the questions why. You look at the people that are vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and autism is 7.6 times higher incidence in the vaccinated person than the unvaccinated person. Sleep disorders, 5 times. Speech disorders, 2.1. Neurodevelopmental disorders, this is 1.8. So think about this. Like, do you already want to give your kid a chance to have these problems by filling them full of vaccines? I'm not a doctor. I can't recommend you take or not take. I'm going to recommend that you read the books, you find out for yourself. And this is actually from Children's Health Defense, is a great website to go, vaxxed versus unvaxxed. It's a great thing to go look into and find out, okay, well, should I or should I not? Ask the question. Ask me the questions. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Maybe I say this about everything. I love this chart too, okay? This chart, by the way, if you're getting ready for dinner, we've got about 5 more slides. We're almost there. What you can see here is measles, scarlet fever, typhoid, whooping cough, and diphtheria. And this, basically what happens is all diseases, I sat right here in the same spot during COVID and said this as loud as I possibly could, is that, and I said it before COVID, all the diseases on this planet, God created the body to learn how to be able to fight for these. All of these go through what's called a bell curve. It goes here low to high, and it goes up over the hump and then goes down low again and starts to level off. That's how all diseases over the course of mankind, and we can't think the thousands of years that we've been here, that the last 50 years or last 100 years, things have changed. They haven't changed. And you can even see it by this chart here where you see the diphtheria vaccine wasn't introduced until 1920, but they said a diphtheria vaccine actually reduced all of it. Whooping cough vaccine wasn't introduced until the 1940s. And guess what? It was almost completely gone. The measles vaccine was introduced until 1963. So you guys got to understand is that this doesn't make sense that they're saying that these things started creating or started getting rid of these things. It's a lie. And why would they lie? Why would the media lie? Because they're paid off by vaccine and pharma companies. That's why. You guys got to ask the question, why? Why is everybody forcing me to get a vaccine? Why is everybody forcing me to wear this mask? Why is everybody forcing me to, why are they doing these things? Is it for the greater good? Is it for the public health? What is the why behind these things? This is crazy when you start to look in these things. And I encourage you, go read the books. Turtles All the Way Down, Shot in the Dark. There's plenty of others that can help you with all these things, okay? Allergy meds versus and shots. So antihistamines are harmless, and necessary allergy shots cure allergies. I, as one person that took a lot of antihistamines growing up, I took Sudafed, and I said in the class, I'm like, do they even have that anymore for anything other than making meth? They have those things, I still think. But what happens is your body has its own natural histamines built inside of it. And when histamines go high, you're going to be snottier. Your bronchioles are going to start to close down on you. Eyes are going to water. Histamines cause inflation, a lot of other things. Histamines are there for a reason. It's there for a reason. And what happens is if you keep using constant antihistamines, you're not letting the body go through the process. Like for a cough, I don't want to stop a cough. I want to let the body go through. Why is it coughing? It's there for a reason. It's supposed to be there. And so when you start to take a lot of allergy meds or a lot of shots, it starts to affect the nervous system, and it creates poor gut health away as well along the way. And so you've got to try to get the body as strong and as healthy as possible. And so this is me. And one thing I knew or found out over the course of time is my nerve system was my key component to why my body had these allergies. My body couldn't adapt to its environment because I had such strain and stress on my nerve system. And these are the areas that develop the immune system and allow your body to be able to figure out what's going on with any of the problems that are as far as inflammation and why my body's reacting to these what's so-called allergies. I also found, side note here, is that the more dehydrated I was, the more that my body needed, the more that my body would try to pull water out of the air. And so in order to pull water, the body's so sick and smart. If you're dehydrated, your body's going to try to pull water out of the air. And then what it does, it starts to constrict the bronchioles and all the little things in the lungs. And it tries to get water out of the air, H2O, right? It tries to get water out of it. Tries to get water out of there. And so what's happening is by doing that, histamines go up. And when histamines go up, then what happens is your body's like reacting to this thing. But if you have plenty of water in your body, it's a whole nother story. Your body's able to actually do what it's designed and what it's supposed to do. A couple more, we're almost home. Ivermectin. I don't want to really touch too much on this. If you have questions about this, go listen to there's a couple good podcasts out there. Email me if you want to ask questions about this. The one thing, actually it's, Nick Wilson and Leah Wilson in Indianapolis, and one of my friends, Joel Bohemier out of Naples, Florida. These guys put together a great podcast about ivermectin. And what I loved about it when they started talking about this is they started saying the body has parasites. And so people now today are just saying, oh, ivermectin is this dream drug. It's the most amazing thing. People are taking this thing like it's a supplement now. Understand it's still a drug. Understand it still kills parasites. Understand you also need to have good parasites in your body for your body to function properly. So if you keep taking something to destroy all the parasites, you're going to have bigger issues on the other side of this thing. So again, you got the Nobel Prize. Great. It helped Joe Rogan heal, right? Great. But it needs to be used. And I'm never a drug person. That's always the last thing for me. A drug would always be the last resort. So you need to be careful if you're out there just saying, oh yeah, it's just ivermectin, it's safe. It's not safe. It's killing parasites, good and bad. And you need to be aware of that. Again, Nick Wilson, Leah Wilson up in Indianapolis, that would be the podcast I'd go listen to if you want to know more about that. Acid reflux and medications. This was me. I was able to get off this stuff. Good story about one of my, shout out to Elevation Worship where we go to church. One of the singers of Elevation Worship had acid reflux. He allows me to tell a story. Had acid reflux. I'm not going to say his name though. Acid reflux when I first met him. And I've been adjusting at the church now for 15 years. I go every Wednesday, basically every Wednesday for the last 15 years. And we just recently moved to Tuesday. But it started with me adjusting him on a picnic bench because we'd have like 3 or 4 worship experiences in the morning. And so, I was there. So, and I was working the parking lot, parking cars and introducing, VIPs, new people there. And I said to this guy, I said, listen, I go, I'm going to adjust you, but I wanted you to understand something. He had acid reflux problems in college. And they ended up having to put them on acid reflux medications. Again, remember, if you take this stuff long-term, it causes cancer. This is not good. And so, and it affects your stomach acid. And if you affect your stomach acid, your body's making the perfect stomach acid to be able to digest something. But if you take this medication now, then what ends up happening is your body is disrupting that medication is disrupting what the body's really trying to do. So, but I get it, because his acid reflux was starting to affect his vocal cords. And because it's affecting his vocal cords, it's affecting his singing. So I said, listen, if I start adjusting you more on a regular basis, checking you, and let's find out where the subluxation is, let's get rid of the pressure off the nervous system, let the body go through its healing process. Then what happens is your body will start to adapt and start to figure out what the heck's going on and start to heal. It can heal a cut on your arm. Why can't it heal your gut? Why not? Something's going on with inside your gut. Sure enough, he had major subluxations, misalignments in the areas that were going to this area. I said, we start adjusting him. A couple months into it, he comes in, he's like, man, it's doing a lot better. He goes, and I said, listen, I go, but it's not all the way gone. He's like, no. I go, have you stopped taking the medication? He's like, no, why? And I said, because if you don't stop taking them, and I can't tell somebody to stop taking the medication. I said, if I were you, this is what I would do. The brain sends the messages down to heal the gut, but he's taken a medication that's telling his brain that something else is going down in here that's not really going on, because it's confusing the brain of what's really happening. It's like if I broke my arm in 20 places, I could take enough pain relievers and painkillers and still go throw a baseball because my brain is shut off from what's really happening. You need that perfect communication. That's why when you have these aches and pains, as long as there's perfect communication there, the body will and can do exactly what it's supposed to do to be able to go through its healing process. But you have to get the perfect function going through there. Hopefully that makes sense. Chiropractic adjustments can help, typically mid-thoracic, but also cervical spine. These are things, again, I'm going to get ripped apart from my chiropractic colleagues out there. I don't care. I'm trying to teach masses about how the body actually works. Brain and spinal cord need to function. Otherwise, the body can't work the way that it's supposed to work. So that's the end of this thing. I'm going to put it on the slide here. Again, if you're local here, text us right now. Give us some grace. We don't have anybody working at the office right now, unless somebody might be checking the text messaging right now. But text in there, just put dinner in there, and we'll follow up with you. And your only ticket in, I'm buying dinner for you. Your only ticket in is bring a friend. I think more people need to understand and see where the cause of the problems are. We've seen over the course of 21 years, I don't know, we've seen and probably given over maybe 700,000 adjustments between all our doctors that we've had in our office over the course of years, maybe more. And we've seen a lot of people come off of drugs and medication. We've seen people stay off of drugs and medications. We've seen major transformations in health and healing. Again, we don't heal anybody. We take the pressure off the nervous system. We allow the body to be able to do the function the way it's supposed to, and the body can actually do its own healing. But you have to make sure that the nervous system is working at the highest level that it possibly can. That's it. And so if you're in this area, go ahead and just text that word. If you want to come to the dinner, I'm buying dinner. Not exactly sure what it is yet, but I'm buying dinner, and I'm going to talk. And I'm going to help you understand, and we'll walk through some of your problems that you're suffering from and start to get to the root cause. I love my radio people. My radio people come through the door because I've been on the radio here for 21 years. And when the radio people come through the front door, I'm like, why did you come here? And they're like, well, I heard your voice. I heard your testimony, but I really want to get to the cause of the problem. And you very rarely hear that from people, but I love it from the radio people because they just know when they come to the dinner, same thing. Once you start to understand the anatomy and the physiology about how the body works and how the body's designed, it's pretty amazing if you start to understand that along the way. So if you're out there, text us 704-540-0055. If you're not in this area, then what I would do is I would just email me, and I'll try to find you a doctor. I've got a great network of doctors that I can connect into all over the country. I'll connect you with these people, and that way you can get plugged in. They might have a dinner even coming up pretty soon, or they might have a class, or you can just do a private consult with them, but they can help you as well too. So if you're all over the country, feel free, just shoot me an email at docsoup@gmail.com. That's my own personal, my own email. So that's it for tonight. I don't have anything else for you guys other than the fact that I love and appreciate you guys. Just share this, push this, share this to friends. Maybe just directly share this with people that you think, hey, look, maybe check this out. And if not, just share it on your own page as well. I don't know how this Facebook and this YouTube, I'm sounding like an old person right now. So love and appreciate all you guys. Thanks for being with me tonight. Have a blessed day. We'll chat soon.